and he
That's
could
what
be
we
a
talked
very
about
good
that day.
plumber.
That's
You
exactly what we talked about that day, is that a number of people you knew everybody remembers that from school. There was a guy that or a person or girl, whatever, tests just freak people out. The word, the four-letter word, the pressure of being that person might be a masterful plumber when they're in their element and moving around and taking using their hands, but set them down with a piece of paper where they have to perform and there's other people in there doing the same thing and that's not their environment. You know what I mean?
and you gotta
And I
know
don't
the
know what
charts,
that's
though.
like. I don't know what that's like. So,
Yeah,
because I've
I
always
mean,
been a good test taker.
well, but just and I maybe I misspoke there because not necessarily a test taker, but just doesn't know the content. But for if he's a service guy, he doesn't need to know the content. If you're in a house and you're replacing a tub and shower faucet, you have half inch coming in and out. The cold coming in the hot. Well, you're going to use half inch. The question is, do you know how to solder? Do you know how to use those skills? But you might
Yes,
not know all the charts for the grades and elevations. 1.14. All these. There's the equations you got to know, and people aren't good at math. Uh,
I
but you
would
don't
agree.
need to, you just need a lot of it. I need to know how to plumb the IDS building in order to pass my test. I'll never do any of that work. Yoke vents, really, all these different things for you got to be able to know it, but you'll never use it. And that's kind of like for these if he's a service guy, or even if he's a remodeler doing residential. You're not getting into that where you get into 1 inch, but you're not getting into 1 1/4 unless you're in apartments or something like that. And you can be a good, service tech, but you got to pass that. You have
You
to
do.
have that license in order to work on your own. And so I'm sure that guy, if he's been doing it for 11 years, you know darn well he's not working under a journeyman every hour.
Yeah,
Um,
it was just a
he's
loose
probably
end.
a service tech.
It was a loose in passing story. It was just
Yeah.
interesting to hear the parallels when people talk about the test, and hopefully your kid does pass it. I hope it'll go. I mean, I'm sure it'll go great. It's really cool to hear, the full story arc from you, Jason, and how things came together, and just how different some of the journeys are. But what's cool to hear at the end is that you said you built something you're proud of, dude. Like, good for you. I'm so happy for you. That's so
Still
awesome.
building. I'm not laying down yet.
And you've got third generation. Like, dude, you nailed it. You're winning.
Well,
In
no,
my
no,
opinion, you're winning. Sure, sure, sure. Leave some of that aside, but by and large, like in the context that we're talking about, like you're winning.
I'm
So I
proud of
think
myself. It took work.
good for you, dude. And I think that's a good spot to transition to. Did you want to talk about your water heater idea that we were touching on earlier?
No,
Let's
I was thinking maybe we'd do a follow up. We talked
agreed.
about this. There was, just some of the growing pains if you wanted uh, how to grow, and just different facets of plumbing versus just how you got there. But if you ever want to do a follow up,
I would
I enjoy
love
it.
that, dude. I would love that, dude. Then let's wrap up with speaking on the full arc and the next generation, dude. I know you talked about it a little bit that there's demand, but speak directly to the young generation that's coming up. Why do they want to get in the trades? Tell them and tell them not just why, but what they're going to need to have as a mindset to make it work for them.